14-year-old Malala Yousafzai has paid a very heavy price for taking on the Taliban in Pakistan. Across the border in Afghanistan, girls have been fighting the same kind of resistance ever since the Taliban came to power there in 1996. Their wholesale assault on women, including girls' education, became a source of outrage worldwide, especially here in the United States and way before Osama bin Laden and the 9/11 attacks shifted America's focus to that region. Back then, I investigated the secret network of girls' schools in Afghanistan and the heroic efforts to give those girls the chance to learn. Teachers like Mrs. Zubaydah taught in a flourishing network of underground schools, secret places like this one in the countryside. Mrs. Zubaydah set up her school above her husband's office. He's a doctor. And when the Taliban came to investigate, Mrs. Zubaydah blamed the noise on her husband's patients. Was it difficult? Did you have to be careful in case the Taliban find out?
It was very difficult. I had to be very careful. Sometimes I was changing the time of this lesson. Sometimes I was changing the place.
We used to hide our books under our burqas to avoid beatings from the Taliban. But a few girls were caught and roughed up.
Why weren't you afraid? They could have done terrible things to you.
I don't know. I was not afraid at all.
But if they'd caught you, they would have whipped you, no? At least.
But I had to help the people.
And joining me now is Shabana Basij-Rasikh, who was 6 years old when the Taliban came to power in Afghanistan, and she joined that underground classroom resistance as well. She eventually came here to America and graduated from college, and she's now working to build schools and educate young women back home in Afghanistan. Shabana, welcome to the program.
Pleasure.
Let me ask you first your initial reaction when you heard what had happened to Malala in Pakistan.
Well, obviously, I was so angered, and when people asked me, I said, you know, this is why, more than ever before, we need to unite and join the cause, join Malala and many other millions of other girls in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and elsewhere in the region. To advocate for girls' education, to really get out the message that educating girls really does mean changing the world.
It could have been you, couldn't it? I mean, could have been you as a young girl.
Absolutely, absolutely. And still, that is a risk that I'm trying to minimize every day, because I am working with girls in Afghanistan who, like Malala and many other girls, are fighting so many obstacles to receive an education.
When I did that report back in Afghanistan so many years ago, you, at that time, I think, were much younger and in one of those underground schools.
I was.
How did you go there? Why did your family allow you to take those risks?
Well, I am extremely privileged to have the kind of parents that I do. My father was the first ever in his family to receive an education.
And we have a picture of your father right here in the table.
And my mom was the first female in her family to go to school. And so their educational background combined made all sorts of opportunities possible for me. Had it not been for their commitment to my education and to my siblings' education, I would be a sophomore in high school if I were lucky.
You mean today, at 22 years old,
I would be a sophomore in high school.
But I only have achieved that kind.
Yep, I'm a college graduate. I went to Middlebury, one of the best colleges in the U.S. and by extension in the world. And I am back in Afghanistan to share that knowledge that I've gained here to help many other girls in Afghanistan who are still struggling to receive an education in one way or another.
Go back a little bit to your father's generation and your mother's generation, because so many people look at Afghanistan and think that forever it was a broken, terrible place with no opportunity for anybody. However, you tell a different story about your mother being educated and your father. Tell me about how that came about.
Well, my grandfather really was the one who insisted on sending my mom to school.
This is your mother?
This is my mom, who retired from her teaching job 2 years ago and then turned our house into a classroom for girls and women in our neighborhood. She still teaches students in our house. And I really was, my mom was my first teacher at home. I was one day sitting in this little girl's place studying with my mom. She really taught me how to read and write when I was around 5 years old.
And the men of that generation appreciated an educated woman?
Well, you know, that's something that is often dismissed here, but behind every successful woman that I know, and that many of you will know. If you really dig deep, there's always a father who recognizes and appreciates the value in his daughter. And in my father's case, as I said last night to you and to many others, I always dream big, but my father, he dreams bigger for me. He's the one who really makes these opportunities possible for me.
And you mentioned last night we were launching a campaign called 10 times 10. Explain briefly what that is. It's about raising awareness and action for women's education.
Well, it's a global campaign that's really calling on action everybody to join the cause and to really invest on girls' education, to really appreciate and spread awareness that investing on educating girls really means changing the world, and that if you educate a girl, she's more likely to marry later, have less and healthier kids, and she will contribute to the country's economic growth and peace and security in our world.
And you right now have got a boarding school in Afghanistan.
I do, yes. I co-founded a boarding school in 2008 called SOLA, and SOLA is a word for peace in Pashto language. And the mission is to further global educational opportunities for the future generation of and leaders of Afghanistan. The girls that you see here, they are the future leaders of Afghanistan, and they come from all over Afghanistan to our boarding school in Kabul. They come from different ethnic groups, they live together, they appreciate the different qualities that every single one of them bring to the school. They study together, but they also teach each other the different unique qualities. I have a Taekwondo trainer who studies at SOLA, but for 1 hour she teaches students. I have a boxing girl who is a member of the national boxing team, and she helps the other girls. And I have poets and writers, and at really young age, novelists who write things, and they're so passionate. They have this big and huge hunger for education that gives you so much more hope about the future of Afghanistan.
Did you ever, in those days when it was so dangerous to go to your underground school during the Taliban times, the height of the Taliban, did you ever want to say, no, I can't do it?
I absolutely did. You know, going to school, constantly fearing that, you know, I would be caught by Taliban any moment, not seeing a clear future for women. I would just really want to quit. You know, I was scared. I didn't want to continue. I didn't want to be killed by the Taliban. And there, my parents, they were always the ones who kept pushing. My father, I remember, he would say, you can lose everything you own in your life. Your money can be stolen. You can be forced to leave your house during a war. But the one thing that will always remain with you is what is in here. And he would point to his head. And he would say, your education is the biggest investment in your life. Don't ever regret it. They're really committed, and I am so thankful and grateful for my parents, because as I said before, had it not been for their commitment, I would not have been in a position to help other girls in Afghanistan at a time when they really need our attention. I'm really, really scared that by 2014,
when the West pulls
out, the funds will dry up, and there will be a lot less attention towards education for Afghan girls.
Well,
and
we're
really
going to keep paying attention. Shabana, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.